afya.
Welcome back. We continued our news review this morning, and even as we continue, I'd like to apologize to our viewers. Gatundu South MP Moses Kuria has not been able to make it to studio this far. Also, Daisy Amdani, the member of the National Women's Steering Committee, is also not in studio. But we're here with the MP for Kiminini, Chris Wamalwa, and we continue with the news review, and this very interesting headline on the front page of the Standard. Loved and hated in equal measure. Friends see him as loyal. Enemies say he is toxic. We're talking about the Deputy President, William Samoei Ruto. And, of course, how do you, from where you sit from NASA, I'm sure you've interacted with the Deputy President, but from NASA, of course, you see the Deputy President as a bigger problem, probably, than even the President himself.
The Deputy President is a very aggressive guy. He's a go-getter. Look at where he's come from. He calls himself a hustler. Where he is, he's the Deputy President. And whatever he's doing, he's aiming at 2022. He's somebody you can't take for granted.
Yes.
And when you look at the Jubilee government, actually, he's just like the Dwale in Parliament. So he's come out to fight, to defend the Jubilee regime. Most of the time you find the president doesn't talk much.
Yes.
Even Kibaki's government, Kibaki was called all sorts of names. He was a hands of guy. They call him legs of guy, everything. But at times it is also a good strategy. You know, in physics, I remember there's a law, third law of motion, where they say action and reaction is equal in the opposite direction.
Yes.
So really, the same way, like even Raila Amolo Odinga, we have people who love him. Remember Wamala Kijana's words of Raila phobia, Raila mania. And in terms of leadership, you can't please everybody. There are those, the regime changers that you advocate for, they love you, but those who want to resist change, they'll always hate you. And that happens in terms of leadership. So looking at Deputy President, in terms of, let's say now from most of the things that are happening, you've seen when you talk about the issue of corruption in Jubilee government, S.K. Child, the first person he'll mention is the Deputy President. We've had so many scandals associated with him. We've seen the issue of
but there's still allegations. None has been
absolutely
proven.
The allegations. Those are allegations not proven yet. But you see, where there's smoke, there's fire. And many Kenyans will believe in whatever happens. So really, he is somebody who has good qualities also when it comes to aggressiveness, being charismatic, what you want. And the opposite people also, they don't like him. And this happens across all the leadership.
And if you look at the page 6 of the Standard, because that's where the full story is, and they've actually listed a number of people that he has had run-ins with, from Raila Odinga, Kalonzo Musyoka, Anne Waiguru, Moses Wetangula, Martha Karua, Gideon Moi, Hassan Joho, Peter Munya. He's really managed to make a lot of enemies, even within political circles. He doesn't seem to be, for someone who's eyeing the presidency at some point, surely, aren't these a bit too many enemies to make?
No, but one thing you need to know is at what time was he making enemies? For example, when it comes to the Prime Minister Raila Amolo Odinga, they were together in government, in the Musumkata government, and Raila tried to fire him because of maybe the allegations of the corruption that were there, the maize scandling and all that. And at that particular time, because Musalia was there as the second in command, and he really wanted to overtake Musalia. As I said, this guy is a very aggressive man, so you must know how to manage him. Remember in the Rift Valley, Moi was the president of this country, and he managed to take away the Rift Valley from the former president. So that means he had put in a lot of effort for him to take over from the former president who actually created him. So in terms of ambitions, in terms of aggressiveness, he is a go-getter. It goes without saying. So that alone made them to develop some maybe differences with the PM. And the Mao, They managed to plant this on Raila Amolo Odinga, despite it having been a cabinet decision. So the PM was trying to come in to implement a decision that was made by the cabinet, where the deputy president was sitting in. But here, they were giving him fire to burn himself. So he managed to use that strategy to remove the support that Raila Amolo Odinga had at that particular time from the Rift Valley. So he's a guy, he knows what he wants. You sit down together, even if it means sacrificing you for the sake of getting whatever is under the table, this man will be able to do it. When it comes to the Vice President, Kalonzo Musyoka was very loyal to President Moi, and also they were together in the AIC church. As a matter of fact, by that particular time, the VP had a lot of support from the Rift Valley. And because William Ruto was trying to take over, he has to look for a way of trying to downplay the deputy, the Vice President Kalonzo Musyoka. And when it comes to these things of this Musumkate government, William Ruto will not be happy to see the president sitting with Raila Amolo Odinga, because he thinks Raila wants to look for a Musumkate government. If he comes in, he'll be the one to be sacrificed. So he's a guy who fights for his position. He wants to use all means, whether hook or crook, to retain power. When it comes to Anne Waiguru, Anne Waiguru was very powerful, in the Jubilee government. As a matter of fact, people are saying she's the second in the command. Where is she now? Because the deputy president fights for his position, so he had to look for his ways. And in fact, the time of bringing down the impeachment of Anne Waiguru, the architects of this, the people who are ahead, it was none other than the Lady Kistani, who was working at the deputy president's office. People like Linturi, who had a very close working relationship with the deputy president. The deputy president is looking for his army. He's looking for his supporters in 2022. And anyone who stands in the way, he'll do away with you. You'll absolutely. Absolutely. Now, you've seen what is happening in Rift Valley, and there's also a story to that effect on page 9. Still on the same paper, page 9. KANU and CCM, that's Chama cha Mashinani, team up against DP in Rift Valley. Yes, he is managed to create so many enemies for himself, including in the Rift Valley. Doesn't this therefore mean he could be, to some level, a liability for Jubilee? Yes. Now, looking at what's happening in Rift Valley, and after we saw the mother of His Excellency the President visiting the former president, the two have a very close working relationship. The Kenyatta family and the Moi family. The bond that is there, it's so strong. And one of the reasons why in the previous elections, you realize that Gideon Moi went with Musalia Mudavadi. One of the critical issues were the deputy president didn't want to see President Uhuru near Gideon Moi, because as far as the Rift Valley votes are concerned, his big competitor is the Moi family. When it comes to the networks, the Moi family have the networks. When it comes to financial muscles, they have the financial muscles. So he looks at this family as a big threat for his presidency. That's why any opportunity he gets, he wants to fight the Moi family. But from the look of things, I think we must see how do you think he miscalculated when it comes to that? No, I don't think so. Because he needs to fight them. No, the issue is this. No, he has to fight fine, but for Uhuru presidency, he needs also the Moi family. And this is the time I don't see a situation whereby the Rift Valley is going to go with Jubilee the way it did last time, because you have a lot of rebellion. Because now the likes of Isaac Ruto, KANU and CCM, Chama cha Mashinani, they vowed to field candidates in both South and North Rift in a bill to topple Deputy William Ruto in the region. That means even as far as Nandi, there will be candidates. Absolutely, and CCM. Exactly. And even the other day when might fail to get the same number of MPs it has in Parliament. Absolutely. And even if you go as per the look of things, was it last weekend when the deputy president went to Baringo? He encountered a lot of resistance. We had even gunfires. That is an indicator to show that things are not good for him. When you go to Bomet, Isaac Ruto has taken over. It's not going to be easy. In fact, I pity my deputy speaker who is going against Isaac. Isaac is not just anybody you can take for granted. He's really working. Imagine everywhere we are having the doctor strike, but it's only in Bomet where the doctors are working, and this is because of that interpersonal working relationship, the skills that Isaac Ruto has. So in terms of enemies, it is true. The deputy president has created so many enemies, not just in Rift Valley, even when it comes to central Kenya. In Kiambu, you've seen what's been happening about Kabogo and Babayao. So we are told those differences are there, and as a result of the deputy president, he's everywhere. He wants to control everywhere. Even the Nairobi gubernatorial positions, you know, the coming of Peter Kenneth from other quarters is a reaction to put to an end the extension of the power of the deputy president.
Wow.
So the mind that is trying to go everywhere for purposes of getting 2022,
yes.
he's getting so many enemies. So he must tread carefully. Yeah, he must tread carefully.
Well, the Standard is calling this an eye-opener on the controversies that DP Ruto keeps stalking in and out of Jubilee. Friends speak candidly on why they find Ruto charming and brave, but his enemies argue that he is arrogant, tyrannical, and dismissive. That story is on page 6 and 7 of the Standard. It's a very nice read. You should read it for yourself. And of course, Ruto will continue being a very probably central figure in Kenya's politics, even beyond the August election. Let's
the ban on adverts. This is something.
That's the other headline, and I want us to look at that
absolutely.
now. It's on page 8 of the Daily Nation. Page 8 of the Daily Nation. Of course, it has to do with the government ban on advertising in private media. And the Council of Governors say they have to wait for legal protection of decree as media lobby reads malice in that decision. Counties will seek clarification on the new directive barring government departments from advertising in private media. Now, the Council of Governors Chief Executive Jacqueline Mogeni told this particular paper that the counties would not act on a cabinet decision until it is protected by law. How serious is a cabinet decree, really?
An executive order is very weak when it comes to the matters of the law, and it can be challenged if something is unconstitutional. You saw the other day the president of the U.S., John Trump, when he gave some, Donald Trump, when he issued some executive orders, they were challenged by the court. So in this case, what the government is doing is absolutely wrong, and this is one way of tagging the media. First of all, when it comes to the print media, you ask yourself, what has the government, what government opportunities are there? The Kenya Times, which was government owned, it died long time ago. When it comes to TV shows, I think Royal Media, Citizen is leading. We only have the KBC, and the KBC that we have, I don't think it has that wider coverage. Secondly, people believe it's likely to work under duress, to be directed by the government. So in terms of freedom, it's not going to be there. But it's outlined in the Constitution.
Yet the government is still allowed to run its own business. It can decide how it will spend its money. They're not required by law to spend money on local media.
No, when it comes to the public procurement, you must procure services. It is nowhere it is written that the government should procure services from the government entity. You must procure something that is value for money. When it comes to advertisement, one of the critical things you must look at the target audience and people to see which media house that am I going to use that is going to maximize. This is value for money. Okay? So the government opportunity we have, you'll not get value for money. So it violates that. Yes, and we live in the world of competition. Yes,
the ICTCS Joe Moshero has tried to give an explanation, and that's on page 11 of the Standard. And the decision to come up with a my.gov publication is to consolidate and ensure sufficient business for both the government and the media. What Bwana Moshero argues is that the ban on advertising in local media was informed by the creation of what they call my.gov, which is an insert which the government puts all its advertisements in one, and then once you buy a daily, it becomes a part of it, like a pull-out. Probably it will be cheaper in terms of government spending, because now what they pay to the paper to carry that insert will be much less.
No, that one to me, it negates the importance of competition and value for money. And if such an issue has come up, of course Parliament should also have a say in that. So it cannot just come as an executive order and to get it implemented. As a Parliament, we're going to resist that.
So definitely that is something that you're going to...
Yeah.
Okay. There's something here about Ford Kenya leaders launching campaigns toward of Jubilee Forest in Trans Nzoia. How big of a problem is that? I know you come from there and you were there with your party leader and Ferdinand Wanyonyi, Eseli Simi, Wafula Munyini, for registration drive in Kiminini, and that's actually your constituency. How big of a problem that are you having in Trans Nzoia? Is it because it is a border constituency? It's not really in Western Kenya, neither in Rift Valley. It's just along the border.
No, Trans Nzoia is in Rift Valley, the former Rift Valley province. But in terms of distribution, it's like an extension of the former Western province.
So
and
it's
when
actually
it comes when it comes to voting, whether culture, whatever it is, it actually votes in line with Western region. And that's why when you talk of Western counties, you'll see our members of parliament, our leaders talk of Trans Nzoia, Kakamega, Vihiga, Busia, Bungoma. All these are taken as one region. So in terms of the challenges, political challenges are the same. And that's why many times you say Trans Nzoia is another zone, and by extension, it is a Fort Kenya zone. So really, the leadership was there, yes, to address some of the challenges, and we've had complaints. And Honorable Noah Wekesa mentioned about it, that we are seeing people coming from Uganda because of the proximity, coming from Uganda to cross over to come and register as voters. And these allegations have been leveled against different members of parliament. We saw the MP for Endebess, though he denied. He said, no, that's not true. We saw Honorable Emase for Teso. Even the allegations that the bodyguards were being arrested, it's because of this proximity to the neighboring Uganda. And because of that, we have some of the people who have the same tribe, same language, who stay in Kenya, and they also stay across. For instance, Honorable Emase, when I had a chat with her, she said some of her relatives are across Uganda. So maybe it is true, it happens. When it comes to Endebess,
but they live in
absolutely.
Uganda.
No, okay, that one I don't know. When it comes to Endebess, we've seen some Sabauts who are in Kenya, they're called Sabauts, and those who live in Uganda, they're called Sebeis. And when I asked Honorable Bukose whether this is true, he denied, but he says yes, some of their relatives are also across the board. And this is the highest time that now the government must be firm. We should not allow people who are not Kenyans to cross over to come and vote here, because they belong to Uganda. The same way it happens to Masais. We have Masais in Kenya and we have Masais in Tanzania. So we should not allow people to come from a different country to come and vote here. That's why it's a sensitive matter when it comes to Trans Nzoia.
Okay. Time now for another short break. When we come back, we'll discuss what is happening in Nairobi. There were gunshots at a rally yesterday when supporters of Peter Kenneth and Mike Sonko clashed. We also need to discuss this small headline on page 10 of the Standards. MPs want Mudhama out of NASA talks. 4 lawmakers from Mukambani want Senator Johnston Mudhama dropped from the NASA technical team established to pick the opposition presidential flag bearer. Why is that? We'll discuss that with Bwana Chris Omolo when Power Breakfast returns.